Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki
Jai.
Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumara Panamatu. Let's thank our Bhagwan heartily for all the gifts and praise, especially the grace of being able to sing His name without fail. This again is the glory of His name, that we are able to stick on. Today, we shall again see some glimpses of Bhagwan's life, his devotees' lives, the glory of his grace. Yesterday, I was telling you about Shri Mahalingam of Harkote. There is one particular thing that he talked about which I think we should know and remember all the time. When we were in breakfast hut one day, Bhagwan started to smile, of course looked glorious, and said, "Oh, if you have been chanting Ram Nam incessantly, you will be able to see Shri Rama dancing everywhere. Be grateful to Bhagwan that we can resume it's okay, working. It's again another Leela of Bhagwan. So let's learn to enjoy everything as his Leela. Now this declaration from Bhagwan. When this beggar came as Shri Rama, he did a lot of work. He did his father's work. When this beggar came as Shri Krishna, this beggar again did a lot of work, but it was father's work. And then he said, when this beggar came as Jesus Christ, he did father's work. This beggar came as Muhammad Nabi. He did Allah's work. And then he said, in whatever form this beggar appeared, this beggar did only father's work, and even now this beggar is doing only father's work. Bhagwan often said he lived only for the sake of father's work. Nothing else matters, no one else matters. Nothing else exists, no one else exists. When the Parabrahman, the supreme awareness, the supreme consciousness which we call God, Parabrahman, when it assumes a form, then it also does work. When it assumes the form of Ishvara, he does the whole cosmic work. He looks after the whole cosmos. He runs the whole cosmos. The Parabrahman takes the form of Brahma and creates. The Parabrahman takes the form of Mahavishnu and looks after the world. It sustains the world. When the Parabrahman takes the form of Shiva, it destroys what it created. It is one divinity, the supreme awareness. It's a blissful, powerful, all-pervasive, all-knowing, all-powerful, and also beyond the attributes. That's what Bhagwan means. Once it assumes form, you can call it Father. You can call Shiva Father, Mahavishnu Father, Brahman, the Creator, Father. And Bhagwan also uttered these words. He said, whoever has come with this beggar, in this birth, in this reincarnation of this beggar, all those people who have come and who are working for this beggar will come back again whenever this beggar takes birth. They will have to come back with this beggar to do Father's work. So that is again assured that if he should ever come back, we would come back only to be with him, to do his Father's work. In truth, none of us really exist except as instruments in the hands of the Divine. This form that's given to us, each one's form, He has created, and it's He who is sustaining us in the form of breath. And it's He who is going to stop our breath when He chooses. And it's He, while there is life in the body, who is activating this body, activating the breath, activating the breathing, activating your mind, your intellect, your whole body. So it's He, from the beginning to the end, has taken each one's form and playing our role. So, this Parabrahman has taken the form of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Just imagine that power which created the whole cosmos. When he said, when the Parabrahman, just one thought I would create, galaxies rolled out, planets rolled out, huge mountains, oceans. Can we create an ocean? And can we create mountains? What power! Just 1 second, if we think of the whole creation, right up to an ant, right up to one-celled animal, the plant, the ocean, the mountains, the huge planets, they are hanging there, out there in space. Once Bhagwan said, somebody had come from ISRO, the Indian Space Research Station. So Bhagwan was asking him about the satellites. He asked Shri Ganesan, was working there in ISRO in Bangalore. How many years will a satellite last? Shri Ganesan said 3 years, 4 years. It's very limited. Then Bhagwan laughed and laughed and said, you see the planets up there in the sky? How many ages they have been living? Who created it? Now you know the amount of money that goes into creating a satellite, the amount of hard work that goes into keeping it in the orbit, and the meticulous arrangement. Even then, we cannot be sure that the mission would succeed. Now Father, the Supreme Ishvara, has created planets, galaxies, and all in one thought. He did not have to work in a laboratory, assemble the elements. He just one single thought in the consciousness, the Supreme Consciousness, and it materialized immediately. Galaxies and galaxies rolled out, worlds after worlds. 1 second, if you could think about this, you know, the mind would stop functioning and you would go into silence. Now we should come back to some of the Leelas. This form of God, this God-man, Yogi Ramsuratkumar played. There was one Raja Ramalingam, who was a confirmed non-believer. When he had come with his friends to a wedding in Valajapet near Chennai, after the wedding was over, his friends, especially one Saravanan, they all planned to go back to Salem via Tiruvannamalai. They wanted to visit Untitled Mandir and some ashrams in Tiruvannamalai. Now, Raja Ramalingam, he did not like it one bit. He had only contempt for all this. He called it superstitions, had only contempt, unbridled contempt. And so, but then he had no choice. He had to come with these people. So he consented. When all those people went inside Arunachaleshwara Mandir, Raja Ramalingam stayed out. He was very bored. He just stayed out and waited for these people to come. And to his great relief, they came after some time. They decided to visit Yogi Ramsuratkumar, who lived near the chariot mandap. Now, once again, you can imagine the condition of Ramalingam. He thought, what nonsense. There is no end to this. These people going after one after the other, simply wasting time. So those people, they went to the Sanadi Street house. They found it locked. And some people said, Swami had shifted to an ashram and he is giving darshan only in the ashram. So the whole lot of them had to come to the ashram. Again, Ramalingam, the great non-believer, did not feel like entering the ashram, but then he was forced to come. So they all went and sat in the dining hall where Bhagwan was giving darshan. There were some bhajans, and then Bhagwan was seated on the dais, smoking, and blessing people. The bhajans were going on. Ramalingam found it impossible to stay even for a minute more. He just had to come out. To him, in his contempt, everything was absolute nonsense. Why would people be obsessed with all these things? What is it in this that draws people? He could never understand. So he just got up restless. He was about to cross the threshold and he heard a distinct whisper in his ears. What? You will come back here next week. He could not believe that. He dismissed the whole thing as nonsense. He just walked away. He went and sat in the car, and after some time these people also joined. So he returned home to Rasipuram. He was working in Salem. Salem, there was a factory where he was working. The factory had arranged for a function the next week one day, and in the function he had to do the major role. So after the function was over, after seeing off people, when he came out it was 1:30 a.m. The midnight, a little after midnight. So he came to the bus stand because he had to go to Rajipuram, his house. He was looking for a bus. He was afraid there would be no bus at that time, but like a miracle, there was a bus parked there, and he saw the conductor and the driver also. He rushed there, got inside, and there was so much space, that being the night. So he took a comfortable long seat, stretched out, and went to sleep. The bus was going to Rasipuram, so he was very happy. He got one, and he went to sleep. The bus was traveling, and then in the morning, around 6:30, 7 o'clock, he woke up. The bus was stopped at some place. When he woke up, he asked the driver, "Oh, the Rasipuram has come?" The conductor looked at him strangely and said, "What are you saying? This is Tiruvannamalai." He said, "Rasipuram. Somebody said this is Rasipuram bus. That's why I boarded it." "Ah, that could be it, because after you went to sleep, probably, the bus driver and conductor, they were asked to go and report to a certain place, replaced by another set. So we came into the bus and we were asked to come to Tiruvannamalai." And then you can imagine Ramalingam's plight. He was thinking, "My God, what am I doing here in Tiruvannamalai?" And he had to get down, he had to pay for the ticket also. So after that he got down at Ramanashram. 7 o'clock in the morning, without any intention, he had come to Tiruvannamalai. He had been carried to Tiruvannamalai by a strange twist of circumstances. And here he found himself standing right at the doorstep of Ramanashram. He did not know where to go. He did not know what to do. He just looked around and he saw two women with some bags hanging on their shoulders were moving past him. So he began to follow them, and they were going to Yogi Ramsuratkumar ashram. So he also walked. As when he entered the ashram, suddenly he remembered the whisper that he heard very distinctly as he was coming out of Darshan hall the previous week, which he dismissed as a piece of imagination. And here he was, the very next week, right at the entrance of Yogi Ramsuratkumar ashram. The minute he realized, he was shaken. That instant, he realized overwhelmingly the power of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. He ran inside, and people were falling at Bhagwan's feet, one after the other. and he stayed last. And then when he fell at his feet, he held on to the feet of Bhagwan and cried so much. He was completely overwhelmed. And then Bhagwan patted him on the back and dropped a fruit in his hand. So you can imagine the confirmed non-believer, Raja Ramalingam, now was crying so much by the powerful circumstances, how the transformation came into. After that, of course, he became a devotee. He went and narrated everything to Saravanan, his friend, who brought him here the first time. And Ramalingam became such an ardent devotee of Bhagwan. He was still unmarried, and they were looking for a bride for him. And 2 or 3 times he said no, because he was very insistent that Bhagwan should approve of the bride, otherwise he wouldn't marry. So 2 or 3 times went off. And then again they mentioned one bride, Mamaleshwaram or something, some place. So he was going there with his people to see the girl. But again, he was very determined that Bhagwan should give him some sign of approval. Then only he would marry the girl. Just see what happened. Because of his faith, devotion to Bhagwan, as he was walking, as they were nearing the house, there was a crow flying overhead, and it was carrying a coconut shell. There must have been some layer of coconut in that. It must have picked up from somebody's house, and then it dropped that coconut shell, it fell down right at the doorstep of the girl's house. And Ramalingam saw the coconut shell being dropped by the crow right in front of the house of the bride. He knew instantly that Bhagwan had blessed. So you see, everything happened very differently after the transformation. It was Yogi Ramsuratkumar for him all through. For every little thing, it was only Yogi Ramsuratkumar. His consent. Now we shift to another person, Kathirvelan. And this Kathirvelan, of course, unlike Raja Ramalingam, you see him spiritually inclined right from childhood. So much so, in Madurai, where he was living, he found a beggar Swami, whom people called Muniyandi Swami or Muneeshwar Swami. He began to visit this Muneeshwar Swami. And one day Muneeshwar Swami directed him. He said, this Muneeshwar Swami was very different from other godmen. He called everybody Gurunatha. For him, everything was his will. So he would call everybody Gurunatha, Gurunatha. So one day Muneeshwar Swami told Kathirvelan, Gurunatha, why don't you go? There are many other beggars like this beggar. There is one, a very special one in Tiruvannamalai. I would like you to go and see him, have his darshan and come. And Muneeshwar Swami also told him to take a pack of cigarettes and a garland and some fruits. So when Kathirvelan reached Tiruvannamalai at about 5:30 p.m., he found Swami coming out, and Swami said, you can come tomorrow, and went inside. Kathirvelan was very disappointed, but then Muneeshwar Swami had asked him to see. And what was more, when Swami came like lightning, just for a fraction of a second, something went out to him. His heart, something happened to his heart. And he did not feel like going away without seeing Swami properly. So he waited for a long time, but Swami would not come out. And then he knew that he had to see him only the next day morning. So he somehow found a hotel to stay the night. And the next day morning, he presented himself promptly at 6:30 a.m. And now the door was closed. It was locked. So Kathirvelan did not know what to do. But the more and more it happened this way, the more determined he became. He just could not leave the place without seeing Yogi Ramsuratkumar. And just then, Bhagwan was coming down the street from Arunachaleshwara Mandir. He walked to the house, opened the gate and went inside. Then again Kathirvelan started to pray. He was calling out, Swami, Swami. Within 2 minutes, Bhagwan appeared again and then called him inside. When Kathirvelan was seated before Bhagwan, Kathirvelan said that Muneeshwar Swami had sent him there. Oh, that Swami who lives near Melagopuram, the Western Tower, near the Western Tower. Oh, that one, that Swami has sent you here. Oh, very good. What can this beggar do for you? Then he said, since garland was sent by Swami, immediately Bhagwan allowed him to put on the garment. And then he showed the packet of cigarettes. Bhagwan took it in his hand and gave it back as prasad. And then the fruits. Bhagwan took one fruit and gave it to Kathirvelan. Please take it to that Swami. And then Bhagwan began to sing Ram Nam in that sweet voice of his. Ram Nam was going on for nearly an hour. And he also followed him. So they were singing Ram Nam together. And after 1 hour, Swami asked him again, what can this beggar do for you? Kathirvelan said, now he was completely overwhelmed by Ram Nam and the attention Bhagwan paid. So he said with folded hands, Swami, I want only your blessings. And Bhagwan did a strange thing. He put both his hands on his head and pressed him down to his lap. Just imagine what a fortune it is. Bhagwan held his head, Kathirvelan's head, with both his hands and pressed it down to his lap. And something happened, something exploded in Kathirvelan. He went into a state of bliss. When he came out of it, he could not believe what happened. He was completely taken over by Bhagwan. So when Bhagwan left him, Kathirvelan was a different man, completely changed man altogether. And after that, for Kathirvelan, everything became Yogi Ramsuratkumar. When he got married to Sendil Nayaki, of course, was not interested in that because she didn't know anything about Yogi Ramsuratkumar. But his own devotion to Yogi Ramsuratkumar somehow changed her, and one day she came and had Darshan of Bhagwan, and she became a devotee. She was working in a private school. She wanted to switch over to government school, and there was a very tough competition. She was not sure she would get it at all, but Bhagwan assured her that she would get it, she would succeed. And she did. Now the whole family is completely devoted to Bhagwan. And everything, every bit of praise that the family enjoys, they owe it to Yogi Ramsuratkumar. So you see how the transformation comes, how Bhagwan touched the lives of people and brought out inner and outer transformation to them. This James Cantin is a Hilda's kid. Hilda Charlton, a spiritual leader in New York, and about 300 devotees were attending her lectures. She used to call them kids, and she looked after them very well, both physically and spiritually. Caleb Wadlington came from that group, and through Caleb Wadlington, many people began to come to Yogi Ramsuratkumar. James Cantin was one of them. When he entered the ashram, Pradhan Mandir, he saw the whole lot of beautiful photographs of Bhagwan. He was not interested in singing the name, but when he saw those beautiful photos, he wanted to draw one of them. As he started to draw the photograph of Bhagwan, he became so absorbed in that, without knowing, his mind, his heart began to chant Yogi Ramsuratkumar. And Yogi Ramsuratkumar came alive in him and also in the drawing. So much so, James Cantin says that the transformation, just entering the ashram, how he was transformed, how he took to chanting the name. And he says the best works, the best paintings of his came alive only when he chanted Yogi Ramsuratkumar. So these days, when he draws, when he paints, he does it with chanting of Yogi Ramsuratkumar Nama. And his paintings speak, they come alive. Just see again. And Bhagwan also played with words. So when Lucy Blue reports, she was also from Hilda Charlton's kids' satsanga. She says that when she came to Bhagwan, Bhagwan asked her where she was working. She said she was working in United Nations. And immediately Bhagwan said, "Oh, Jyoti is uniting nations." She was also called Jyoti Blue. So she thought it was a great blessing. And when someone else from the Sangha came and Bhagwan asked him what he was doing, he said he was a carpenter. Bhagwan said, "Carpenter, carpenter, carpenter, carpenter," and laughed. And the carpenter was surprised because the latest job that he took up was painting a car, which he never did before. And Bhagwan knew that, and he played with the words, carpenter, carpenter, carpenter. And there was another one who was a lawyer. As soon as Bhagwan heard that he was a lawyer, he started to say, "Lawyer, lawyer, liar, liar." And then everybody laughed and everybody knew what he meant. How a liar is also a liar. It's part of their profession. Of course, it doesn't apply to all. He said it jokingly, but there is some truth in that. I remember when I was there in Sanadi Street House, a foreigner came and Bhagwan asked him where he was coming from. He said, "I'm coming from your father's country," and laughed. He thought he had replied very smart. And Bhagwan also laughed and said, "Oh, you are coming from my father's country. Then you should go back to my father's country." And he immediately dismissed him from there. So one also had to be very careful with Bhagwan. So you see, it's endless. The stories are endless. We could just go on talking about him. I get carried away if I lengthen this. So I should close this. We have relived all these experiences through other people. And every one of the Leelas that I narrated, that people listen to, those who listen to it, please know that it is this sadhana, and blessings are pouring from Bhagwan upon us. Every Leela, every bit of every Leela that we remember, we relive, fetches a huge bout of blessings. And thanks to Bhagwan, we shall now offer our today's prayer. Bhagwan, please enter some vaccine that could kill the virus instantly and free the entire world from this virulent virus. Bhagwan, please bring back normalcy in every aspect of life. Once again, please remove the panic from the hearts of people and stop the spread of the disease. And bless all those brave people who are serving in order to save other lives, fighting the disease. And above all, give a lift to the falling economy and give us a lift too, so that we could remember your name all the time and go about our daily life as an instrument of yours. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar.